The 911 operator went quiet when she said it. There are dangerous men drinking in my neighbor's backyard. She didn't know two things yet. First, it was my house. Second, every dangerous man she was describing was a cop. Supposed to be simple. No uniforms. No radios crackling. No calls that turn your stomach cold. Just my backyard, a cheap grill, and a few hours where we didn't have to be anyone except ourselves. I'd moved into the neighborhood 3 months earlier, quiet HOA suburb, identical mailboxes, trimmed lawns, the kind of place where people wave but never really talk. After years of apartment living and rotating shifts, owning this house felt unreal. My first real win. So when Tyler, Chris, and Ramon finally lined up a rare shared day off, I didn't hesitate. Burgers on the grill, a cooler of beers, folding chairs pulled into a loose circle. Nothing wild. Nothing loud. Just 4 grown men decompressing. Tyler was already trash-talking sports, Chris was mid-rant about some new tech gadget, and Ramon sat back quietly, watching everything like he always did. If you didn't know us, we probably just looked like regular guys enjoying a weekend. And for a while, that's all we were. The sun was warm but not brutal. The smell of charcoal drifted through the yard. Somewhere down the street, a lawnmower hummed. It felt normal. Safe. Then I felt it. That familiar itch between my shoulders. The one you don't forget after years on the job. The feeling of being watched. I casually glanced toward the fence. Nothing. I told myself I was imagining it. Paranoia doesn't disappear just because you're off duty. I took another sip of my beer and laughed at something Tyler said, but the feeling didn't fade. A few minutes later, Ramon shifted in his chair. "You feel that?" he murmured. That got my attention. I followed his gaze. Just for a second, I saw movement, blonde hair dipping behind the wooden slats of the fence. Someone was definitely watching us. Chris noticed the shift in energy. What? What did I miss? Probably nothing, I said, not wanting to kill the vibe. Nosy neighbor. We shrugged it off. HOA neighborhoods attract that type. The curtain peekers. The clipboard warriors. You learn to ignore them. I wish we had. Because suddenly, the side gate rattled. Not knocked. Not called out. Just opened. The latch clicked, the hinges creaked, and a woman stepped into my yard like she owned it. She was mid-50s, maybe. Tight blonde bun. Oversized sunglasses even though she was in the shade. Arms crossed so hard they looked locked in place. The kind of posture that screams authority without ever earning it. Conversation died instantly. 4 grown men fell silent in their own backyard. She scanned us like evidence. Beer bottles. Grill. Lawn chairs. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I knew it, she said, like she'd caught us in a crime. I stood up slowly, keeping my tone calm. Can we help you? She ignored the question. I could hear you all the way from my kitchen, she snapped. Loud. Drinking. Carrying on like this is some frat house. Chris blinked. Ma'am, we don't even have music on. She whipped her head toward him. Don't talk back to me. Ramon stepped in, voice smooth, diplomatic. We're just hanging out. It's the afternoon. Her eyes narrowed. I know what kind of people you are. That line hung in the air. You learn, in this job, to hear what isn't being said. And that sentence was heavy with it. Tyler shifted forward in his chair, jaw tightening. I gave him a subtle look. Don't. Ma'am, I said firmly, you're on private property. My property. You need to leave. Most people would have backed off. She smiled. Not a friendly smile. A calculating one. This neighborhood has standards, she said. And rules. We don't allow gatherings like this. She gestured broadly, the grill, the chairs, the cooler, like she was presenting a crime scene. Chris muttered, "It's a barbecue." "That's legal." That was the wrong thing to say. Her face flushed red. "You people always think the rules don't apply to you." And then she pulled out her phone. Started recording. "Oh good," she said loudly. "Now I have proof." I felt my stomach tighten. Phones change everything. Context disappears. Clips get edited. Stories get rewritten. "Please stop recording," I said. "And leave." She took a step back, still filming. "I feel unsafe," she announced to the camera. "These men are intimidating me." Tyler stood up, scraping his chair across the concrete. "You walked into his yard." She gasped dramatically. "See? Threatening." That's when I realized this wasn't about noise. It was about control. She turned away from us, phone still up, and dialed. 911, she said, loud enough for us to hear. "Yes, there are dangerous men in my neighbor's backyard." My heart dropped. She paced as she spoke, eyes darting back to us between sentences. "They're drinking heavily. Acting aggressive. I tried to ask them to quiet down and they threatened me." Every word was a lie. I could hear the dispatcher asking questions. And she answered them with confidence. With performance. "They're still here," she said. Staring at me. "We weren't. They won't let me leave." The gate was wide open. I looked at my friends. Tyler's fists were clenched. Chris looked like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Ramon had gone quiet, dangerous calm. I knew exactly what this could turn into. One bad report. One wrong assumption. 4 lives complicated forever. The distant sound of sirens cut through the air. Her mouth curled into a satisfied smirk. "There," she said softly. "Now we'll see who's right." The sirens grew louder, echoing through the quiet neighborhood. Neighbors began peeking out. Curtains shifted. Phones came out. And as the red and blue lights reflected off my fence, one thought ran through my head. She thought she was calling the police on us. She had no idea who she'd actually called. The siren stopped right outside my house. Red and blue lights washed over the fence, the trees, the identical beige homes lining the street. The entire neighborhood suddenly felt smaller. Tighter. Like everything was holding its breath. The woman straightened instantly. Her shoulders squared. Her face shifted from fake fear to righteous confidence in half a second. She turned toward the gate as 2 patrol cars pulled up. "Oh, thank God," she said loudly, still holding her phone. "They're finally here." 2 officers stepped into my backyard. One was young, academy clean, hand hovering near his belt like he was still learning where confidence ends and caution begins. The other was older. Calm. Eyes that missed nothing. She rushed toward them. "Officer, I'm so glad you're here," she said, voice trembling on command. These men appeared out of nowhere. They've been drinking, yelling, threatening me. I thought I was going to get hurt. The younger officer glanced at us, then at the grill, then back at her. Confusion flickered across his face. The older officer didn't say anything right away. He just looked around. The chairs. The cooler. The half-cooked burgers. Then his eyes landed on me. And his expression changed. "Marcus," he said. I exhaled. "Hey, Sarge." The shift was instant. His posture relaxed just enough to signal recognition. His eyes moved from me to Tyler, then Ramon, then Chris. His eyebrows lifted slightly. The woman noticed. "No, no," she said quickly. "Officer, you don't understand." "Ma'am," he interrupted calmly, "do you know who these men are?" She scoffed. Clearly trouble. Probably not even from this neighborhood. The officer nodded once, slowly. Then he looked her dead in the eye. "They're police officers. All of them." Silence slammed into the yard. Her mouth opened. Closed. No, she said. That's not possible. It is, he replied. They're off duty. And this is his home. Her face flushed red. That doesn't matter. They threatened me. Did they? He asked gently. Or did you enter his property without permission? The younger officer shifted uncomfortably. You opened his gate, the older officer continued. You walked into his yard. That's trespassing. Her voice spiked. This is corruption. You're covering for them. A few neighbors gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh wow." Ma'am, the officer said firmly, now, you made a false 911 report. She shook her head violently. I was scared. I pay taxes. I have rights. Not on someone else's property, he replied. That's when she snapped. This neighborhood is going downhill because of people like you, she screamed, pointing at us. Drunks with badges. The officer's tone hardened. That's enough. You need to leave. Now. She stared at him, breathing hard, eyes wild. This isn't over, she hissed. You don't know who I am. Then she stormed out, slamming the gate so hard it rattled. The officers stayed behind. The younger one muttered an apology under his breath. The older officer sighed. She's HOA, he said quietly. Isn't she? I nodded. Document everything, he warned. People like that don't stop when they're embarrassed. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to a notification storm. Facebook. Neighborhood group. HOA portal. The post was already pinned. Urgent safety alert, it read. She described us as aggressive, intoxicated, possibly gang-affiliated men. Claimed she barely escaped. Said the responding officers refused to act because they were friends. The comments exploded. This is terrifying. I knew something was off about that house. HOA needs to act immediately. By noon, there was an envelope taped to my door. HOA letterhead. 3 violations. Unapproved gathering. Noise complaint. Unsightly exterior items, chairs and cooler. Fine starting immediately. She wasn't just angry. She was retaliating. And she had power. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. I contacted an attorney. And I documented everything. Screenshots. Timestamps. Officer reports. 2 days later, she went further. Another post. This one naming my address. Calling me dangerous. That was her mistake. The HOA board couldn't ignore it anymore. An emergency meeting was scheduled. The night of the meeting, the clubhouse was packed. Whispers followed me as I walked in. Some faces suspicious. Some embarrassed. She sat at the front, clipboard in hand, pretending everything was normal. When public comments opened, my attorney stood. My client has been falsely accused, harassed, and targeted using HOA authority. She jumped up. He threatened me. That's when the officer reports were submitted. The 911 recording was played. Her lies were clear. The room shifted. People looked at her differently now. Then the board treasurer spoke. Mrs., did you enter his property? Silence. Did you knowingly file a false report? She stammered. The vote happened quickly. HOA authority suspended pending investigation. Gasps filled the room. She stood up, shaking. This neighborhood will regret this, she spat. But no one backed her anymore. A week later, she was fined for the false 911 call. The HOA removed her as president. Her posts were deleted. Apologies started coming in. One by one. The house felt peaceful again. A month later, we fired up the grill. Same chairs. Same friends. No sirens. No curtains twitching. Just laughter. And as the sun set, I thought about how close it came to going wrong. All because someone thought power meant control. She called 911 to dominate her neighbor. Instead, she exposed herself. And lost everything she tried to protect.